Okay. Well, I hate to push this off any longer because you guys all jumped on time. So let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Anyone else that comes in can kind of jump in late. I'm also recording this so we can share it with them later. The nice thing is where we've got a small room, we can make this a little bit more interactive. So first question I kind of have for any of you three, any of you guys using this today, or are you looking to use it in the near future?
You mean using OCI?
So not necessarily OCI, but the anomaly detection engine. I assume you guys are all OCI users today?
Yeah, well, we just recently, I think, just at the end of last year, so we're still kind of in the process of getting things stood up.
Okay.
And I saw the email, so I don't really know much about the anomaly detection, but I figured I'd jump on the call and see what it's about.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, my organization didn't have application annotations until about a week ago, so we're not using it, but we want to.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that's definitely the best place to start. You'll see that here. Okay. Well, let's spend some time kind of talking about what this is. So let me just hop over the deck here. What I've got is, so I've got a presentation built out to kind of walk through, what this is, really why you'd want to use it or where you'd want to use it, what you're going to get out of it, and then we can kind of jump right into, getting it set up, what's required, and actually using the ADE engine. So I do have a live demo at the end, so we can kind of hop in and explore this in one of our live IT environments after we get through the presentation. If you guys do have any questions, feel free to either stop me, let me know, or shoot them over in chat. We've got 30 minutes, and honestly, I think probably is going to turn out to be around 20 minutes worth of content. So we've got plenty of time to stop if there's anything you guys are curious on. So, start off, what is our anomaly detection engine? So I think our official description would be the machine learning analytics. And what it's going to do is really provide visibility into an application's assets or all the assets tied to an application. And it's going to look for and identify performance anomalies, ideally before they become any sort of service disruption or before they become an issue. So really that's kind of a mouthful here. The keywords here are application and performance, right? When we use anomaly detection, it's going to look specifically at an application and its associated assets. So we'll look a little bit more at that. But it's going to identify the normal operating range for the workloads of that application, and then it's going to let you know whenever the performance metrics are falling outside of expected levels. So when we say this, right, it brings up some interesting challenges that some of our customers are experiencing today. So one of these is we've got customers that are, trying to identify performance issues for applications, but in some of these cases, these applications have, say 1,000 assets tied to them. I don't know what your guys' environments look like on the phone today, but I know I've seen a couple customers that have, over 1,000 assets tied to one application. So when you do this and you're trying to look for, potential problems, one way to do that is with something like performance policies alerting to let you know when particular things have been breached. Just as you're seeing with the second challenge there. But, how do we do this if we've got, 1,000 different assets? And what if our performance policies haven't been set up to the point where we're being notified? Or on the flip side, maybe those performance policies are being set off all the time, but nothing is really necessarily happening. So, one method is to go back to the drawing board on those performance policies, but another is to use anomaly detection to take advantage of machine learning to look for these anomalies. And ideally, with the challenge of, how do we stop these problems before they become an issue? That's exactly what anomaly detection engine is designed for. So it's going to help you guys perform a lot of different tasks, right? Identify changes in the application, asset behavior, track applications across the entire stack from the application all the way down to the storage with everything in between. And, diagnose events that again, might not be setting off any alerts, might not be very noticeable to us or to whoever's watching this, but to the machine learning analytics, it's going to notice this stuff. So it's going to give us a little bit more information. You'll see when I pull up the dashboard or the landing page, it gives us really a bit more information on what's happening with that application in one single pane. And, you know, it really lets us work in more of a reactive mode and then allows us to look forward and avoid problems. So with that being said, any questions right now?
Yes. So could you also use the anomaly detection engine for almost like an application impact assessment type deal? So if you want to see like which applications are going to be affected when, you know, a cluster goes down or something like that?
I would say it's not quite there yet. When I pull up the landing page, we'll kind of look at ways you might be able to get a view of that, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily, but maybe hold that question until we look at the landing page and you can kind of see of how it's alerting you and what information it's giving you. And then that might give you a little bit better answer, but I think it's safe to say it's not quite to the level of what you're looking for just yet. I'll show you and then we can kind of come back to that. Does that work?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so, you know, before we look at taking advantage of this, it's good to stop and look at what's required, right? I don't think any of you guys have this installed today, so it's really important you know hardware, software requirements. So this does require a separate server. Ideally, we'd like to see a dedicated server so that you don't ever run into challenges with competing resources or anything, but you can do it with a VM as well. You just need to essentially make sure that your VM allows for RAM reservations so that we don't run into those problems with the memory at the very least. It does currently only run on Linux, so you can use Red Hat 7.0. We recommend going up to 7.2, or you can use CentOS 7.2. And ideally, you don't want either of these to be running any other application level software. So make it a dedicated machine. You do need an 8-core CPU. Honestly, I've tried digging around to see if there's any other specs on this, and there really isn't. So just need that 8-core CPU and the 32 gigs of memory in the server. There is some restrictions as far as the available disk space goes, right? We need 200 gigs of free space for the server. You can kind of see how those are partitioned out. I won't waste a lot of time. I can get you guys this deck and the documentation here. But the software is going to require 5 gigs. And then just keep in mind the note here, it is best practice to mount the OPT and the VAR on separate disks from the root file system, just in case anything ever happens. You do need sudo permissions on the server so that you can get everything installed correctly. And then as far as the network goes, just a couple things to point out. We do not support a wide area network at the moment, and it will require TCP ports 8080 and 9200 to be open on the VM. Maybe the only other thing I'd point out here is you do need a valid perform license, and obviously that means a valid discover license. So if you don't have that and you're not monitoring performance today, then this is something we want to take back and take back a step and start looking at performance. So for those of you that are using performance today, you're gathering performance metrics, you basically have what you need as far as the licensing goes. It's just a matter of standing up that other server. Okay, installation is extremely straightforward. I was going to actually show you guys in a VM how to install this, and at the end of the day, it was kind of a waste of time because it's very straightforward. I won't waste your time going through these steps. You guys are going to have this information available, but it's very easy, right? It's basically copying a zip file over, extracting it, running the command to install it, and it's going to take care of everything on its own. So the one thing it's going to ask you that you'll want to prepare with is the IP address of the OCI operational server. And once you plug that in with the credentials, and keep in mind it needs to be the administrator credentials, then it's going to do the communicating, and the OCI server is going to automatically see this, and it's going to get things set up. So once you've got this installed and it's communicating with the server, it's pretty easy to get things going. So what we got to do first is get this started. So the anomaly detection is going to happen on a per application basis. So that's why I emphasized application and performance earlier. Everything's going to start with the application. So what we want to do is hop over to the applications page, jump into the application that we want to turn this on, and over in the top right corner, you'll see in the live demo, there's a little box that allows us to turn monitoring on. So you will get this. It will be available as soon as the anomaly detection server is running. All you got to do is come over and flip it on. Once you do this, it's going to go through and ingest 14 days worth of performance data that OCI has been collecting, and going to continue collecting for weeks, months, and as time goes on, the data is going to get more and more accurate. I know a lot of customers have asked me, okay, so what's the quickest I'm going to see any sort of results? Well, I would say once you turn this on, in about 3 hours, you should start seeing some scores. It should have enough information to start making decisions. However, if you're going to make operational decisions based on what it's telling you, I'd say let it run for a week, right? So at the very least, a couple of days is going to be better than that initial 3 hours. It really needs time to kind of learn all these different behaviors, because as you know, throughout the week, there's a lot of different things happen. So from there, it's going to monitor a certain number of counters. Now, these counters are going to change depending on the particular object. So let's say, for example, we're talking about a storage node, right? It's going to monitor the latency, utilization, and IOPS. If it's a VM, it's just going to monitor the latency and IOPS. So got that chart there. If anyone has any questions on this, reach out to me. Basically, once it goes through and monitors these counters, it's going to start assigning an anomaly score to every one of the assets tied to the application. Score will be anywhere from 0 to 100. 0 meaning things are great, nothing funky's going on. 100 means there definitely is something funky going on that you need to look into before it becomes an issue that starts throwing thresholds and causing disruptions or whatever that it happens to be. Okay, so this is what the application landing page looks like once you've enabled your anomaly detection monitoring. So you'll see up in this top right, I've got it on, and a couple different things to point out on here. So this goes kind of back to that question I was asked earlier, right, on what we can do for, kind of looking at events before they happen, like upgrading or changing, say, some clustered nodes. So this case, it's going to lay out everything tied to the application. So over here on the left, we've got every one of the assets tied. So you'll see this is an example that comes from one of our IT labs, and this case has a lot of different assets tied to it, right? So when I get in the live demo, I'll show you, but if I click this more, right, there's 314 more assets that are still tied to this. And once you click that, it's going to drop down and actually have all those different boxes. So as you can see here, if we had to dive into each one of these individually and look at like timelines and look for alerts or, policy breaches, it's going to take forever, right? It's going to take some documentation. It's not going to be fun. In the case of Anomaly Detection Engine, it's really nice because up front we get a lot of this great information on one pane. So each set of these bars represents a score for one asset, right? When we highlight each one of these boxes of 3 bars, it's going to pull up that asset. As you can see here, we'll actually have a link. So if we want to jump into the asset and see what was going on at the time of the bad score, we can jump in and look. But we can also see exactly what it's monitoring and where it's picking up, say, its anomaly. So right here, we can see the latency. It's giving the score of 88 out of 100, right? 3 full bars, that's an issue. Something's happening at that point in time that's probably contributing to this higher score. So scores are broke down, just as you would imagine. Think of these as each about 33%. 1 bar, something's happening. 2 bars, might be worth a look, might be worth keeping an eye on things. 3 bars, you want to jump in and figure out what's happening. So all we have to do is basically jump into one of those bars, and then we can go investigate and get better information around what's happening and maybe locate that event or that change that was the issue. Okay, now, outside of the application landing page, there's one other way we can view these application anomalies, and that's with creating a widget. So any of you guys that are using operational dashboards today, this is a really great feature because you can add this widget into any of your different customized dashboards. Basically, it's very straightforward. You just create your custom widget, right? I'd highly recommend choosing the table widget. We'll kind of talk about this when I jump into the live demo. Some of these other ones are available, but they're not as robust at this point in time. So I think we've got some requests in to get that modified in future versions, but currently in this environment running 7.3.1, I'd say the table widget is the way to go. And you'll see when I get this all set up. So,
Hey, Kyle.
Yeah.
Sorry, one question. Can you go back one slide?
Yeah.
There. Where you have internal volumes and it shows that there's more 379 total assets. If one of those assets that's not listed on the screen had an issue, would it bubble up to this screen, or do you have to actually go and look at the 379 assets to see?
So, great question. As far as bubbling up goes, I'd say most cases you're going to see the relevant information on this page. With that in mind, sometimes some of the lower level events are going to be hidden. So if you look at this here, and you'll see next to more, we've got the 379 with no bars, and then it points out we do have the one with one bar. So,
okay, so it'll bring it to light.
Yes, it does bring it to light. So if you look there, the information's available, and you might want to investigate that one bar. What this is saying is probably not a big issue, right?
Sure.
If it's bars, it should ideally be moved right up into plain view. Does that answer that question okay?
Yep, it did. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
And this page is just for one application, right? All those assets were, okay.
Yep, absolutely. So this is on a per application basis. And so when I jump over here and show you guys building out a widget, you'll see this gives us a broader view. So we can get, say, scores for multiple applications. And when I get in the live demo, it'll make a little bit more sense. So choose your table widget. Okay, it pulls up your create widget pop-up here. And then what you want to do is on the assets, you want to choose application like I've got pointed out here. Anything else that you pick, you're not going to be able to choose anomaly detection as a view just because it's tied into applications only. Okay, so once you choose that application, then you want to come over here to the filter and choose by anomaly score. Okay, so once you've done that, let me hop back here. You'll see on the right-hand side, now we've got the anomaly scores. So this is a regular widget. We can add in everything else we want in here. If there's other metrics we want to see side by side, I just made a really simple widget so that you guys can, say build one of these that's right on that front operational page so you can always see, hey, do we have applications that are scoring really high on average? Do I need to jump in and take a look at those? So let's just hop over to my live environment, and then I'm going to show you guys a little bit more of this here. Okay. Everyone seeing this okay?
Yeah. Also, just real quick, is there a limit to how many applications you can put in Anomaly Detection Engine?
Yes, that's a great question. So you can have one anomaly detection engine per OCI server. And for each anomaly detection engine, you can have 48 applications. Okay? Now, each of those applications, we support up to 4,000 objects. So there is a lot of flexibility, but we do have and I don't honestly know off the top of my head, but I know we have a couple customers at least that have pretty large environments that are running many different applications that they want to run this on. So what they end up doing is staging up a couple different operational servers and then putting an anomaly detection engine tied into each one, right? If they got to go over 48, that's basically what's required.
So, yeah, because in my environment, we have, I know, over 70 critical applications alone, so would we have to do several instances of OCI then, you mean?
So if you wanted to turn this on for every single application, that would be required. Another OCI server and then another anomaly detection engine with it at this point in time. I can double check and see, but yeah, as far as I know, once you hit that 48 applications, you're going to need to scale that out.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. All right, so when we want to look at anomaly detection, I always think the best place to start is applications. Okay, right now we're looking at the last 24 hours, and because we have anomaly scores on, it's actually showing us information in here. Now I've got it filtered by anomaly score, so you know a lot of you guys might have this set up to run alphabetically, and then you don't really see any information. But what I like to do is jump over, say, hey, okay, this is a look at all my applications, and over the last 24 hours, it looks like Exchange 2013 has some issues, you know, maybe not super alarming, but there's something going on. So I could jump into the application landing page, again, this being the main route to look for anomalous behavior, and we'll see that anomalies dash. So looks a little like the one I took a screenshot of. This is just a little smaller environment here. As we scroll down, right, we can take a look at any of these assets. If you click it, you'll see exactly what it is. So in this case, we're looking at compute resources, and most of these aren't really doing much. You know? But if I jump over here, you'll see this is probably the guy throwing everything off. So we've got a VM here, and as far as IOPS go, we're experiencing a score of 51. Okay, if we wanted to, we could jump in. In my eyes, when I'm trying to do some of this troubleshooting stuff, I like to, you know, take a strategic approach. So I like to look in here and say, okay, something was going on. You know, right around 4:30 p.m. for some reason we saw a spike. And what's kind of nice is if you look down at the application itself at 4:30 p.m., are you guys seeing anything that looks like a problem? Right, that there's nothing there. So this is where these machine learning analytics are very powerful, right? To the blind eye, we just look at this right up front and we think the application's operating as it should. In fact, I'm looking out here thinking, oh, here's a problem, right? Well, the anomaly detection engine thinks there's some change happening here. So over a period of time, it's looked up, it's built trends happening with this application. It's looked at what is normal. Something outside of the norm happened here. So if I wanted to investigate, we can clearly see, you know, it's tied in with this time or this exact resource. We could jump in to the resource if we wanted to. Look around 4:30. Oh, give it a second while it all loads. Okay, so you'll see right here, look at this latency. Look how it just kind of randomly spikes up there, as well as the IOPS are coming along, and then right about 4:30, things go up, and then they smooth back out. Now, you guys know when we're looking at thresholds and alerting, right? If that was a problem on our alerts, we would see something pop up in here as far as our IOPS or latency. This is capacity, so you can ignore that one. But as far as our performance goes, we didn't set off any flags. And again, when we looked at it from the application view, we're not really seeing anything, right? Things were looking rather good around 4:30. So we want to identify that and say it was a 3-bar instance. We might go out and see what was happening at that point in time, investigate a little further, and you know, maybe try and change something so that it's not happening. Clearly wasn't an issue, didn't cause any downtime, but the anomaly detection engine thinks it's at least worth your notice. So this is how we view this from the landing page. Now, I also mentioned one other method would be a dashboard, right? So you guys can come into whatever dashboard you have. My case, this is some IT environment, so I don't want to mess with anything. I'm going to create a whole new dashboard here. I'll come in, I'm going to choose the table widget. Again, I want to choose the application here, no other way to get this info. And then let's go ahead and filter by anomaly score. Okay, we need to choose what we add in, so let's put in the anomaly score here, and while we're at it, let's just throw in the application priority. Okay, we've now got this widget. Keep in mind that I'm running 731, which is why I can, these are very dynamic widgets, very easy to edit and build. And now we've got a big list, and if we want to, we can say, okay, let's filter this by the anomaly score. And while we're at it, that's too much information. Let's just shrink this down. Kind of got some great information. You put this on one of your operational dashboards where you're trying to look at the health of everything and see what's going on. And now we've got great information. Keep in mind, we're only looking at 24 hours, so this information is always going to change, right? We bump it out to 30 days. Now we've got a lot more going on. At some point in time, our support site portal, right? Something happened there. So just some of our different applications, you can kind of see what's going on and provides a lot of information. So I just want to show you guys one more thing before we wrap up here, and that's if you want to create, say, a spline chart around this, you can. It's just a little bit limited at this point in time. So if I choose application, what you're going to see is this is really giving me my anomaly score for all applications. It is good information operationally to see what happened, because all it takes is one application to bring this up, and then we can go investigate at that point in time. But it is not going to break it down on a per application basis where, say, we get 10 different lines of different colors and we can investigate. It's going to just break them up if we want to by application priority, business entity, or monitoring status. So say I choose application priority. Right now we should have a couple different lines based on our medium and high. I don't think anything on the low actually set anything off. Oh, I'm wrong. I saw a low in there. So it gives us good information, and then we can go ahead and choose, what time frame we want to use, how we want to use it, and add in extra things from there. But personally, to me, that one, it's valuable for some things, kind of more of that high-level overview of what's happening in the environment. Are there funky things going on at certain times? But this guy up here is going to provide me a lot more value. With that being said, we are right up on the minute, so I'm going to wrap this up here. So any questions?
There's no additional cost to using this if you already have OCI, right?
Nope. I mean, you need the server, so I don't want to be, I should be blunt, right? You're going to have to stand up the additional server, and there, depending on the organization, there may be some costs associated there. But as far as OCI goes, no, absolutely not. As long as you have your Perform license, you could turn this on today if you had the machine to run it. Any other questions?
And where did you say this PowerPoint deck will be?
I'm going to send it to you guys.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I've actually got some resources here too. I'll send them over. So this configuration and administration guide, it has a lot of the stuff that we've talked about. It's all in here. It's pretty well documented. And the Online Documentation Center also has it. So I encourage you guys, if you want to play around, jump in there and look. You'll see where I got some of this data from, or some of these descriptions. I just kind of pulled them right out of our config and administration guide. But if you have any questions, you're trying to get this set up, call me, right? That's what the customer success team is here for. We want to help you. We'll get you the documentation. We can help walk you through the process. If you want someone else to do it, like services, we can bring them in. But honestly, I think this is a really easy install, very easy to get up and running. But, that's what we're here for. So don't hesitate to call your success program manager, whether that's me or whether that's one of, our other team members. We will help you. Any other questions? Okay, Well, I will take the silence as no other questions. I want to thank you guys for hopping on today. I think it's really good when we have a small room like this where I can be a bit more interactive and not just kind of blindly walk through a presentation with everyone on mute. So appreciate you guys being interactive and working with me on this. And if you do come across any other questions, please email me or call me. I'm happy to help you guys out with any of this or answer any additional questions you might come across. And I'm also looking for any sort of feedback, as I usually do with these presentations. So if you thought this was good, if it gave you good information, it's going to help you maybe make some decisions or go do something, please send me an email, let me know. It helps me continue to build these things out. If you thought, hey, Kyle, this was junk, wasted my 30 minutes, you won't hurt my feelings. It'll just help me build out better presentations. So shoot any feedback you have my way. I'm happy to read all of it and kind of modify things moving forward. But thank you guys again for hopping on the line. I do appreciate your time, and I hope to see you guys again on one of these sessions again. With that, I'll go ahead and wrap up the meeting here. Hope you guys have a great day.
Thanks, Kyle.
No problem. Thank you guys. Take care.